From a jack of all trades to a high ticket consultant. This is one of the things that that comes up a lot. Like a lot of times I'll get on the phone with somebody or I'll be at a word camp and, I'm just meeting up with somebody and we kind of ask, like, what are you good at? Like, what do you do? And then like, oh man, I can do everything. I can do web design. I can do graphic design. I can do like, at least some basic SEO and, I can do, flyers and brochures and print and all of these different things. And like I'm a jack of all trades. And then I say, okay, well, that's great. You can do a lot of cool stuff. Like, what do you charge for all of that? And it's like, oh man, I'm really struggling financially. So how can that be? So what's the difference between a jack of all trades and a high ticket consultant? And what's the pathway from one to the other? And this is something that I wanted to talk about today because a lot of people that I talk to would consider themselves to be kind of like a jack of all trades. Like I can do a lot of great things and I've been doing it for years, that sort of a situation. But at the same time, you're really struggling financially. It's like, I don't really get the clients that I need. When I do get the clients, it's just for these little one-off small projects. It's not really a high ticket thing. It's one and done projects. It's not really any kind of recurring revenue coming in. It's inconsistent. And, I'm just not really making it. What's the fix? And when I get into a conversation like that, I kind of feel excited about it because if that's you, like if you feel like you're the kind of person who can do a lot of great things, then the real problem is a marketing problem. It's not a skills problem. And that's really cool because skills problems take longer to solve than marketing problems, because with skills, you have to learn the skills. You have to, take the time to do all the like, think about how much time you've spent in developing all the skills that kind of go into the toolbox of someone who considers themselves to be like a jack of all trades. And then think about, well, how long would it take to then just fix the marketing? So like the skill set, you might have been building up over 5 or 10 or even more years. Whereas the marketing, we can put that together in a couple of days. So, and so that's the big shift. It's like, what's the difference between a high ticket consultant and someone who considers themselves to be like a jack of all trades? And the answer is, well, really there's a couple, but it boils down to marketing. And what are you marketing? Like, are you marketing the individual services or are you marketing the outcomes that come from those services? And that's the bridge. It's like, as soon as you can make that jump to where you're not just out there marketing your individual services, but you're marketing the results that you can generate for clients, that's the ticket. That's how you get to be a high ticket consultant. And if you're starting from a place where you already have a lot of great skills, then it's a really, really quick path because you just have to change the marketing. And when you change the marketing, it changes the types of people that you attract. And when you do that, then you've got these long-term, high-value relationships where the point of working with you is to really get awesome outcomes. How do you double the clientele of a landscaping business? Or how do you get leads for a real estate agent? Or how do you put people in restaurants, even on Tuesday nights? Things like that. Those are outcomes. And for example, with restaurants, if you're working with a restaurant, it's incredibly helpful to be a jack of all trades kind of person because they're going to need a website. They're going to need branding. They're going to probably have some offline stuff too, like menus and flyers and brochures and banners and signage and all of those types of things that tend to go into the restaurant industry. And they might even want e-commerce, right? Like, what if you want to place orders online or do a catering business and schedule events? So there's all kinds of skills and services that can go into working with restaurants or real estate agents or photographers. It's like, all of these different markets are going to need a set of skills. It's not just one thing. And so if you're in a position where you can offer that set of skills, you're in a great position. And so what we would do as we're kind of working together to fix the marketing is we really do focus on three things. The first thing is what is the set of skills in your jack of all trades toolbox? And we look at it and be like, okay, well, it's graphic design, it's web design, it's maybe e-commerce is in the mix. Maybe you can put a Google Calendar on somebody's website or hook up their calendar to some sort of a online booking service, or all different kinds of revenue generating streams. Like, we think about different ways to implement the e-commerce so that you're adding revenue streams to people's mix and stuff like this. So we just think about all the different stuff that you've got access to. And even some offline stuff too. It's like, what else can you do that might be offline work? Like, could you make a menu for a restaurant, or could you make like signage for like a lawn care company? Or what about events? Like, what if you're going to do event planning? Could you do signage and like decorations and kind of organizing things for that? And so we just kind of lay it out all on the table. Like, what are all the things that you can do so that we have clarity on what that jack of all trades toolbox looks like? And then we'll take a look at them and be like, is this enough to really put together a high ticket offer? Or do we need to add a little bit more to it? And sometimes we'll find that we need to add a little bit more to the marketing, to the business development side. Because it's like, if you just build a flyer for somebody or whatever, that's not really like, nobody wants a flyer. So there's no one on the earth who would like to have a flyer for the sake of the flyer. What they want is the clients that come from the flyer. Like they want to put flyers around and use that as marketing to attract clients. So you have to then think, though, well, what are the things that I can do to attract clients for my clients? And then you would think, well, okay, well, maybe I got to polish up my email marketing skills, or maybe I got to figure out how to get better at SEO, or maybe I need to figure out how to run like a Google Ads campaign, or maybe I need to figure out how to set up a couple of different sales funnels, something like that. And so the first thing that we would do is I would work with you to make sure that you feel really good about not only your technical ability to kind of develop the online presence for your client, but also to make sure that that presence includes tools to drive the outcomes that they're looking for. And that could be onboarding new clients. It could be generating new revenue streams. It could be any sort of business development skill set. And that's going to be the ticket in terms of your skills. That's going to be the ticket to actually getting the price point higher. It's also going to be the ticket to getting the ongoing revenue coming in, because the story has changed. The story is, I'm going to build out this online platform that has these awesome marketing tools on there, and then I'm going to use that platform with you. And so that provides a really strong and logical bridge into why they're going from the initial build out phase into that recurring revenue phase. And so the first step is to really say, okay, well, out of all the skills in your Jack of all trades toolbox, let's make sure that you have both areas covered: the strong tech foundation for kind of building out the online presence, and the strong marketing set of skills to really start driving results for your clients. And then we focus on the marketing. And this is something that we can usually solve in pretty quick amount of time, a couple of days, maybe a week or so. We put together a new story around your business that changes the way that you attract clients. Because the biggest problem that Jack of all trades people tend to have is they market the trades. They say, hey, I can do all of these individual things. Which of these things would you like? Do you want brochures? Do you need a flyer? Do you need business cards? Do you want a website? Do you just need a logo? Do you need, images for your social media stuff? It's like, what are all the different things that you might want? And when you talk about yourself like that, you attract people that want some of those things. Like, oh, it'd be great if I had a better flyer for this event that's coming up, or it would be great if, we could get better looking website that's mobile responsive or whatever. And then you just kind of sell one of those services. And that's why Jack of all trades gets stuck in all of these low budget, short-term projects. And they tend to struggle a lot financially, because you just can't charge a lot for those individual things, especially anymore, because there's Fiverr, there's Upwork, there's Squarespace and Wix, and all of these different platforms where if all they're looking for is the individual services, then you can get those things really cheap somewhere. And so where the value really comes into play is, how do you assemble those services into a business in a box sort of concept? It's like, what do you need to do if you're a landscaping business and you want to double your clientele? Or what do you need to do if you're a local restaurant and nobody knows your name, but you serve awesome food and you want to, put people in the tables even on weeknights and things like that? Like, what are all the things you need to do? Like, what's the full package of all the things you need to do? And then start marketing those outcomes. Like, this is what we do to build that 6-figure photography business that you can run out of your house. All of these things. And then when you market those outcomes, you fundamentally change the way that you talk about yourself and your business and all of that other stuff. And that attracts a dramatically different set of people. So like when you're marketing services, you're kind of pulling people from over here that want these individual cheap services. And when you market outcomes, you're pulling from an entirely different source of leads. And they want different things. They want high ticket, long-term relationships. They want the business. They want the extra people in the restaurant. They want to double their landscaping business. They want to build that 6-figure photography business, and they'll do what is necessary to make that happen. And that means they're going to need a website. They're going to need branding. They're going to need marketing. They're going to need SEO. There's all of the things that you can do in that Jack of all trades toolbox. Put that together, drive that kind of outcome, and then you have a dramatically different business for yourself. And that's the path from Jack of all trades to high ticket consultant. So if you're feeling like this is you, and you've got all these skills that people can really benefit from, and you can do great work, but you're struggling financially to attract the right clients because everybody's just a cheap client, a one-off project, it's no recurring revenue. And then you're saying, oh, well, okay, well, yeah, I can do this flyer for you, but wouldn't it be great if we also did this Facebook ad campaign? Or wouldn't it be great if we also, revamped your website and got this great marketing in place? Or wouldn't it be great if we got some videos in your site to show? And people are like, well, I don't want to do any of that. I just need the flyer. I just need this one thing. And so anytime you're attracting people from just the services that you're trying to offer, and you're trying to then upsell them into these larger projects or into these retainers, it's really, really hard. It's hard for a bunch of reasons. Usually the clients they don't really have the budget for it, or even if they do have the budget for it, they don't have the mindset for it. And so it's a big shift to go from, hey, let me give you like this $150 flyer or this $400 flyer or whatever into this $5,000 project. That's a big shift. It's really hard for people to kind of make that, especially when they kind of go into it thinking they just need a quick little service, quick little fix. And then on top of that, it's difficult because a lot of times you begin to attract clients who are just kind of getting started from the beginning, and they're not really serious. They're just kind of dabbling, seeing if they can get something to work. And they're not really devoted or committed to their business as a whole. Whereas when you attract people that are like, hey, do you want to build that 6-figure photography business that you can run out of your house? And someone's like, yeah, dude, I take great pictures. I've been awesome at this. People really like the photography. My calendar's not booked and I'm really struggling with that. And then you provide them a solution that solves that problem. Now you're attracting people really ready to invest, because what it means to invest with you is that they're making like an extra 50 grand or an extra $100,000. And surely that's worth like 5 grand to do that. So the finances really come into play. Everything just really comes into scope when you make that marketing shift. And so that's really the second thing that we do in DoubleStack. So the first big thing is making sure that you've got the skills. The second thing is making sure that you've got the story to tell about what it means to work with you, and stop marketing the services, because that attracts all of the wrong people, low ticket people, one-off projects, people that just want to squeeze you for all the stuff that you can do. And that ends up not being a successful route. And so then what you do instead is you start saying, hey, here are the outcomes that I can help people generate. And then when you do that, you attract a fundamentally different source of clients. And that, of course, then means that you've got these high ticket, these long-term relationships. And then the final thing is, okay, well, now that you're attracting leads like that, well, how do you put like a process, like a structured process in place to onboard the clients? So it's one thing to attract the clients. It's another thing to actually turn those people into actual paying customers. And it's a dramatically different experience compared to what you do as a jack of all trades. Like when you have all of these services, the whole idea is you interview the client to figure out which of the services you need to deploy on their behalf. And usually it's just 1 or 2 things, but sometimes it's more. And so you say, well, how many pages do you need? And what kind of website do you want? And what are you looking for? Like you begin to just kind of go through a questionnaire of all the different types of things that you could be providing, asking them what they want, and then you do it. But that is not at all what you do when you meet with these outcome-driven clients. And instead, you create something that's more outcome-driven rather than service-driven. And so that's what we do in DoubleStack, is like I coach you through how do you have that kind of conversation so that you're presenting a result to clients, not just a to-do list. And you're creating a dramatically different mindset in your client's mind, as opposed to what happens when you have these kind of technical to-do lists. And ultimately what the mindset is, hey, can I work with you to actually fix my business, as opposed to, hey, can I work with you to get a flyer? And when you create that type of a mindset, then you have a situation where the client feels like they have to work with you in order to get that type of an outcome. And so you've done 2 things. You've increased your value because you're providing something that really is a lot of value. You're providing a pathway for them to get like that 6-figure photography business or to double their landscaping clientele. It's like there's a huge financial value that you can even calculate and say, like, this is what it's actually worth based on the value of your clients. Whereas in the other approach, when you're just talking to people about individual services, there's very little value there. It's like if you feel like you don't want to do the flyer, somebody else will do the flyer. Or if you don't want to build the logo, somebody else will build the logo. And so there's not a whole lot of value in the sense that it's like, well, what do I get if I have a better logo? It's like, what am I going to do with it? And maybe something good will happen, but the logo itself will not do anything. It has to be the marketing around the logo and how you use and all that other stuff. So the value of just individual jack of all trades services is very low, but the positioning is also very low, meaning that if you don't do it, somebody else can do it. You're replaceable. Whereas with this outcome approach, it's like you're the one who's thought through what it takes to actually make these types of results happen. You're the one who actually knows how to pull it all together. Anybody can go to Lowe's and buy lumber and nails and PVC pipe and wiring and all the different stuff, but there's not a lot of people that can actually build really nice houses. Even though you can get all the ingredients for the house at Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever, anybody can go there and just buy the stuff. It takes a skilled person that actually knows how to put it all together to create the house or to create the furniture or whatever it is that you're building from all those raw materials. And so that's the value that you add. And so that does two things. It increases your value, like the actual amount that you can charge, but it also puts you in a better position, meaning that you're not replaceable, meaning that if you don't want to do something, then there's not somebody else standing in line to do the exact same thing, maybe even for cheaper. So that's what we do with regard to the marketing, is to increase your value, increase your positioning. And then the final step is to make sure that you have that process in place for how do you continue on with the emphasis on your value and the emphasis on your position to the point where your client says yes. And so we generally talk through three areas when it comes to onboarding clients. One is the actual meeting with the client when you kind of talk through what you're going to be doing. The second is the proposal that you create, because it's not really a proposal anymore. Like the jack of all trades style is like, yeah, let's do all these technical to-do list kinds of things to, figure out what the proposal is going to be. But now what we're doing is we're creating business plans. Like, hey, this is how we're going to generate business for you. And here's my plan to actually make that come to life. And so that's a really different way to meet with clients. It's a different way to write proposals. And then the final thing that we look at is pricing. And we want to provide a couple of different pricing options, but we want it all to be for the same package. Like we don't want to ever get into a situation where you're like, oh yeah, we could do all this stuff and you could have this awesome 6-figure business, or you could do this other stuff, but I don't really know what's going to happen if you do this other stuff. Like you water it down to the point where the outcome sort of kind of just vanishes. You don't want to do that. So instead what you do is you set up a couple of different price points where people can say yes. And it's much more flexible based on the timeline than it is on the results. So maybe you spread the project out a little bit and have some milestones and collect payments on the milestones rather than doing everything all at once. Or maybe you do some of the marketing before you do the site build out. I mean, there's a bunch of ways that you can structure your price point so that your clients can say yes, because the mindset that you're creating in them is, hey, I need to work with you in order to fix my business, not I need to work with you in order to buy this fancy stuff. So that's a really different mindset. And so all that is to say that if you feel like you're kind of that jack of all trades and you're ready to become a high ticket consultant, it probably is going to come down to value and positioning. And that's really under the banner of marketing. Like, how do you talk about what you do? How do you attract the right clients looking for what you do? And it's a really quick path. So like once you get that story in place about how you do all of that stuff, and you feel really good about your technical skill set to actually drive the results because you are the jack of all trades, and then you feel really good about the story you tell about how you help people and how you drive outcomes for them. And then once you generate those leads, you feel really good about how you actually get them on board as a client in terms of how you talk to them, how you present your business plan style proposal, how you have the price points set that people can say yes, that everything is financially accessible to them, even if they can't write a full check for 20 grand on the spot. Once you get all that together, then you've got it. And you've taken that situation where you're the jack of all trades and you've turned yourself into a high ticket consultant, and you can do it in a couple of weeks. So, and that's really the whole point of DoubleStack, is to take you through that process. So if you feel like that's the kind of thing you want to do, let's talk about that and figure out what your skill sets are. Like, what are the things that are unique to you that really set you apart from everybody else, so that you can then take that jack of all trades kind of skill set and then bring that into a high ticket story that you can tell about your business and about how you help people, not just what you do for them. And then we actually make sure that you actually have a really solid system in place for onboarding those clients. So head over to doublestack.net/call and pick a time off my calendar that works well for you. And let's get on the phone and sort that out so that you can actually make that progress. And so, if you're struggling financially, but you can do a lot of great stuff, then let's get on the phone and make it so you're not struggling financially anymore. Tap into what you've got going on and really start to monetize that in a much more effective way. And it's going to be something that'll last you for a long time, because once you learn how to articulate what you can do in a way that allows people to see, yeah, I understand how that helps me, which is different from I understand what you're doing, right? So you don't want, the jack of all trades tends to market on here's what I'm doing. And then it's up to the client to figure out how to take all that stuff to actually get the help. What we're talking about with regard to high ticket consulting is going straight to the help. It's like, here's how I help you. I help you by creating a 6-figure photography business you can run out of your house. Or I help you by creating a landscaping business where you can double your clientele, even if it's your first year. Or I help you, put people in your restaurant, even if they've never heard of your restaurant's name before. Something like that. Those are all ways you help. And then in order to achieve that type of an outcome, then you have a bunch of things that you can do based on your skill set that you kind of have in that jack of all trades toolbox. So head over to doublestack.net/call and you'll see my calendar. It'll pop up. Pick a time that works for you and we'll get on the phone for free to talk about how to make all that come to life. And then I think what you'll find is you've got a really solid path that only takes a few weeks, because all you have to do is really fix the marketing in order to attract a new level of client, figure out what the value is, get yourself into that exclusive position where you're the one that's not replaceable by the next guy down the street or whatever. And then make sure that you've got that solid process for onboarding your clients. Like once you get the leads, you got to onboard the clients, and you're going to need a structure for that. And so that's what we'll put together. So you'll feel really good about the tools you use. You'll feel awesome about your marketing. And it's really a story that you tell more than just an online resume. It's not a list of services. It's a story. It's like, here's how I help you. And then we'll get to the point where you make sure you have a really good solid structure in place for onboarding the clients. So head over to doublestack.net/call and let's get on the phone. We'll get that knocked out and it'll be awesome. So if you're feeling like you're kind of that jack of all trades person and you've just struggled to monetize those services in any sort of high value way or any sort of consistent way, and everything's feast or famine and low ticket and short term, and you're just feeling like it's been a struggle for a while, well, you might be sitting on a gold mine. And we could then take that and transform it through the way that you talk about yourself and your business, so that you're able to illuminate in other people's minds the help that you're able to deliver to them. And that changes everything. It's literally a transformative type of a thing, where that jack of all trades person becomes that high ticket consultant. And you can do it over just a couple weeks. So head over to doublestack.net/call. We'll get on the phone and sort that out, and it'll be awesome. So looking forward to talking to you. doublestack.net/call. That's the place to go. You'll see my calendar. Pick a time that works great. And then we'll get all this stuff squared away for you, so you start winning these high ticket long-term clients rather than all these kind of short-term one-offs. So awesome, guys. Great connecting with you. Here's a high five. Boop. And look forward to connecting in again next Tuesday. All right, guys, take care. Bye.